Kentucky Board of Education, June 12th meeting to order. If we could stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swab.
Here.
Mrs. Brewer.
Here.
Mr. Biesecker.
Here.
Mr. Manuel. Mrs. Hill.
Here.
Thanks. I'd like to welcome the large crowd here this evening. And first item on our agenda is review and approve our minutes. Do we have any changes or additions or deletions? If none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
I move to approve
Thanks,
the
Maria.
amended agenda, right?
The one we have, is it different?
No, it's just,
This.
Yeah.
Yes.
just the red.
This one, just lots of,
A highly read agenda. Last minute changes. In a second. Thanks, Scott. Any discussion? Not roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Next item is approving our May 8th minutes, which were in our packet for review. To have a motion to approve. Thanks, Trey. And a second. Thanks. Any discussion or questions regarding those minutes? If not, a roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Next, I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Hurst for the meat of our agenda.
A quick update here. I didn't ask our principals and athletic director to be here for June or July. If you need anything, obviously they're on call, so we can contact them if we need to. Upcoming events, these are some of the things coming up. I don't think there's anything there I'm going to highlight, but you can read just as quick as I can. I will share that out with you as we go with our weekly updates. My report here, we had a successful end of the year. We had a great graduation. Our speaker was wonderful, Mr. Schultze. Kids acted really professionally and did a very good job with everything that they needed to do. Very proud of our baseball team making it to regional semifinals. Very deep into playoffs and very proud of our guys. The next pieces here, I've got slides for each one of them, so I won't bore you with taking them through there, but the Youth Association, we voted back in February to allow them to put up a fence across the road on the top diamond over there. They're ready to break ground. This is the diagram of how they kind of want to do that, but it'll be across the road on the top diamond. They also want to put a batting cage where the bleachers used to sit on that pad. So I thought that was a great idea, and they're paying for everything. They just need our blessing to put it on our land. And of course, once it's there, it's our property at that point. So, the hallway renovations, thanks to a couple of grants, one for the Bureau of Workers' Compensation, we are going to redo the floors in the main hallway. And thanks to the Miami County Foundation and hopefully one or two more, we will be doing some graphics and stuff on the walls in the main hallway. Before we get the tile redone, and basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna tear up all the tile. We're still getting quotes on what it looks like to epoxy that, and the different options for that, but it looks like it's going to be a painted epoxy floor. But they'll tear up the VCT, they'll grind everything down, and then put a nice epoxy that's school colors, something we haven't had before. Novel concept, I guess. But before we get to that point, we're painting all the walls and making sure we don't slop paint on the new floors. So we've got everything stripped in the main hallway from almost the whole hallway at this point. But the paint that's on there is a oil-based paint, so we have to primer it. So he's putting on, this is Aaron right now, putting on the primer on one section. And the way this primer works, it's got a 14-day window to finish it. So he's doing one section and then come back, putty the holes, put on a second set of primer, and then 2 coats of paint over top of it. So we'll work our way down the hallway and, nobody's attached the gradient orange to peach colors in the top there, but those will be gone as well. The restroom project for the Head Start room, is going much slower than what we expected. We have the plans obviously back from the architect, but the Miami County hasn't stamped those and approved them just yet. So we don't have the permits. The idea is in the next day or two, we're hoping today we'd have the permit finalized. But we're hoping in the next couple of days we would have that permit, and then we've got contractors ready to go. You'll see on the agenda, one of the last things we've got is an urgent necessity, just because we've got to have this substantially completed by June 30th, which means phase 1 of this has to be at least mostly done in the next 2 weeks. Which means, assuming everything goes well, we get the plans back tomorrow or the permit tomorrow or Friday. Monday, they start tearing up concrete. They pull everything up down to a certain place. The contractor's ready to go to start putting in or tearing that out and then putting in the plumbing that goes under the concrete. And then the first contractor comes back and then pours the concrete on top of everything. So if everything goes well, again, in the next 2 weeks, we'll have a lot of fun. The big project out here right now, the steam building, and we switched from down to steam just because it kind of sounds cooler for a railroad town. But we'll add the arts into our building, of course. They've got the siding has gone up on half of the back and then one of the sides here. We talked to them today. They poured. You can see this bottom right corner here. They poured all the concrete all the way out to the sidewalk today on the far west side. West, that's west. Yeah, west side. They're hoping that the next 2 days, they'll be able to pour this section and the one out in front of it. So all the concrete will be done this week. And once they have that, they'll have a nice level ground for their lift to work on to do all the front siding and then go around and finish off the other 2 sides. But things are going very well with that project. I think it looks amazing. The electricians have been out and doing final, electric plugs and the small stuff that makes it look finished. And if anybody wants to check it out, even after the meeting tonight, it's not obviously a finished product, but we can take a tour anytime you like. Just as long as we don't step on it.
Do you have a plan for graphics on the front of that?
No, but we are working. Actually been in contact with somebody that was a reference from somebody here. She's helping us with some ideas and hopefully we'll have some really professional looking, good, outstanding graphics that we can do on here. And we've got the Railroad Museum was generous a few years ago and donated some crossbucks and some lights and some things like that I really love to incorporate. So we talked about some of those different pieces too. The inside of the building, we were fortunate enough to recommend to our contractor, Chuck Petty over here. He's doing some of the work on the painting inside. So the block work right now is being primed here as well. He's got the top picture here that you see is the room, the basically the STEM room, separating the STEM room into the restrooms. And then the door back here is leading into the officials' bathroom and then their locker room, and the bathrooms are in front. They put in all the insulation and the metal ceilings in the STEM room, and all the OSB is all up. So realistically, it needs paint and lights, and the 2 walk-in doors and the STEM room will be done. So it's actually moving along really well. In the concession stand and in the bathrooms, they've got the plastic. It's not plastic. It's fiberglass boards that go along the walls and on the ceiling, so it's washable and it's clean and it's nice and neat. And it never needs painted. So They'll do all that over top of the OSB that they've already put in. And this contractor, Jonathan Ford Construction, actually went above and beyond putting up OSB and stuff behind that. So we've got room to screw cabinets up to the wall and do things that technically he didn't have to do. So, we really like this guy. He's done a wonderful job for us and very efficient, especially with the smaller crews he's got. So, that being said, that's my agenda for this evening. I was going to ask, Sean here to talk about their building just a little bit, because there's, potential here that they've got some donations to help out with a place that they can keep a few things and put their grills so they're out of the weather and protect our people a little bit better and make it hopefully fit. So, Sean.
What boosters are producing are asking for is permission to build a 12 by 12 pool launch style building. It will have matching siding, matching block work, to the existing building. The arc floor and the unislope are up with a micro porch on it to emulate the other building also. To be used for additional storage if needed for track or football gear equipment. Also to use for our own personal storage and to give us a temporary place to possibly cook in during pouring down rain. Not every time we're going to cook in this building because it's not really detailed and set up for that type of operation. Before we cooked in the dugout, you know, if it's pouring down rain over there, we're in the dugout. So I mean, this would be a nice added facility for that, plus the additional storage. The school also benefits. I mean, right now we keep our girls out in the weather year round. We replace them about every 10 years, you know, $500 going out. The last time the boosters built a building would have been the ball complex concession stand. I believe Weissong and crew was in charge then. And the boosters are probably financially the best they've been all in 10 years or more at this point. So we had an opportunity, we've seen an opportunity to build a building to give us that additional room and storage for the new facility. So we thought we'd offer that. Just kind of looking for the school board's blessing to proceed with this building.
So if you got questions, this is the time to ask, and this would be located on the west side of the concession stand, between the concession stand and the fence next to the farm.
So it'd be the northwest corner of that building. Basically, will be set and offsetting 90 degrees. So that building will be facing the other buildings. They'll look the same materials, same everything. I even brought a sample of block with me today. That's the same concrete block, but it's a smaller form of it. So that way it looks proportional to the building.
So what contractor would do this project? Do you know that yet? Or-
I've asked a couple people for bids. Lori, Jonathan's not willing to do it because his plate's full. I've asked Ms. Garber so far, and I've asked Desi Lehman to give me a bid, but I'm not receiving anything. And then I'm still, once I get your guys' blessing, then I'm going to go to Miami County with the friends.
Well, then I'd recommend also the time that you do cook in there.
We've talked about that, but we want to do that now. We're not sure how to proceed yet. But yeah, definitely. Any other questions, guys?
If you'd like me to, I can text you after we get the vote. Sure, how everything goes.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time.
Sounds great.
Good to see you.
Yep.
Did anybody have questions about anything I've ever reported?
Great. Hey, thanks a million.
Thank you.
Yes, Sean.
Maria, do you have anything from the
No,
president?
I didn't.
Or do you have an update for us?
Yeah, I've got to ask your indulgence. There are several things on the agenda under the advances and transfers. And I've talked to you about this before. Because we're doing so many grants now, it creates a need for me to advance money to a fund because I can't run in the negative, and they're just short-term loans in business sense. It's a short-term loan, we are paid back, but I have to go through all this regulation to explain that it was loaned and come back. So you see a lot of things on the agenda, and there'll be some more that I will, with your permission, add to clear up the year, because we just have a tremendous number of things going on. We're kind of in a dynamic state with what's happening. And it seems like every day we end up with a grant, or we end up with money that I won't say was unexpected, but we don't know for sure that we're going to receive it. So, I just wanted to let you know, that's why you're, it's a nice thing to have happen. Yeah, but, we just keep applying for things, and it just,
Say no.
we never know if it's gonna hit or not, and more than likely, it will hit, and it's given us the ability to do a lot of things that we normally wouldn't be able to do. And, one of the, in reference to what Mr. Hurst was talking about, one of the things we've got on the agenda is a grant, and hopefully we're going to try this one to basically try to improve the STEM room and do some things maybe for the new building to adequately equip it with as much technology as we can. We're trying to think outside the box, trying to do some innovative things, and trying to create a space that maybe not everybody will have out there, and will be novel in its approach. And that's, when you were talking about branding the building, that building was built with the idea of branding, that it's a little bit different than what you see most places, and it has a large look to it. That was intentional. That was to draw attention to it and make it a practical building for all of us. So, I had an interesting day that today some of my information disappeared out of the computer. So they're working on that. So that was not a pleasant thing to deal with. So I might have had a little more complete list on the agenda had that not happened. So we're working through that to see what's going on. Other than that, I just wanted to make you aware, we work daily on ideas to do different things in this district, and we try to incorporate that and keep you notified of those things as we go through. So, other than that, I don't have a lot of specificity. I will be working on the closeout of the books and getting things ready for our year end. And next month when we meet, you should know where we stand for the end of the year. So with that, I conclude my report.
Any questions? Thank you very much. So we have no public participation this evening.
No public participation.
And next item is the financial reports from the treasurer. So Carl, if you could give us a high-level overview on what you'd like us to approve.
We have the financial journal, check journal, multitude of then and now certifications and advances, and just one or two transfers. Permanent and temporary appropriations. We're at the end of the year, so we'll have to be doing temporary appropriations to operate for the 24-25 school year. The rest of those, we have a number of donations that we have. We have a number of grant applications that we've made this month. Once again, we were recipients of this clean school bus rebate. We're working through how that's to be used. Working on just a multitude of grants, financial statement work, and that predominantly, we've got a natural gas and service agreement because we have been able to negotiate better rates for our natural gas here recently, and that's to put that into place. We have a rebate that we received, once again, just a donation, and we are receiving several consolidated grant documents at this time of year. And they actually, by the end of the day, all came in, but we'll recognize those, for the purpose of what we're working on. And then I think, this may be a point of discussion. We are looking at an application for a grant for solar, but they have given us a letter of intent. We want to vet that. We're going to be very careful about that because we're talking about major construction here in the district. It would be a portion of the roof where solar panels will be implemented. And we've had it vetted with our representative from the EPC to look at our current rates, look at how our delivery system and how we need to work within our utilities to be a little more responsive to any problems we have. We really want to do solar panels, but it has to make sense. It has to be that with the IRA and a grant, we are going to get enough payback that it's going to be able to be implemented. So that's something, as we get more information, this gives us the right to move ahead if it looks like a great deal just to apply for the grant. But if we can't get the grant, we won't move forward, and then we'll look to other options. And that basically is it.
Any questions? A motion to approve the items listed on our agenda.
So moved.
A second. Any discussions or questions? If not,
On 14, the new one that was added within the plan from the Spectrum Digital Education Grant. It says to assist our family communities. Do you know what? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I didn't go into it in depth, but there is a grant out there. And that was what I was talking about a little bit with the Spectrum. What we're talking about is equipping that, but if everything works in the grant the way we'd like to see it, not only would we equip the building, we would ask for some dollars to help have classes for maybe area residents for technology and various things to help the community. So the focus is probably going to be on equipping the STEM grant, but there's going to be a side benefit to being able to have community members interact and learn a little bit more about technology. That's the overall plan.
Okay.
But it's so premature, we didn't want to go into all the nuances of it. But that's the overall goal, is to benefit not only students but community.
any other questions? Roll call for approval.
Mr. Biesecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
So no new business to discuss. We have new business. Items 1 through 25. If you give us a high level overview of what you would like us to approve.
Rather than going through every 25 plus items here, I'll hit the highlights. And for those of you that are watching online, it is listed on, or the agenda is on our website, so you can check things out there and follow along with us as well. And I will apologize for all the red. And those of you listening, the red means when we share out the agenda in the week before, we share it with the board members in black, and then anything new we add in red, so they know what the differences are if they just have a chance to read it at different times. But G and H, I wanted to hit those. Rachel Myring, we found out that she was hired in at a step lower than what she should have. So we're going to go back retroactively and add that additional pay into her salary for the last 3 years. I think she's been
3
here.
years.
H, we're going to create a posting to have an EMIS apprentice, so to speak. And what that person is going to do is learn the EMIS trade through the year and take some of those responsibilities as our EMIS coordinator is getting ready to retire. And we need somebody to basically start taking those reins. So hopefully that will allow a difference in pay and responsibility, of course. I'm going to drop down to number 5, talking about the Southwest Ohio Purchasing Council. They're the ones that handle our health insurance each year. We expected an increase fairly drastic with some of the claims that we've had against our insurance this year. And we get an increase every year. We have to take an increase every year. This year it is listed as 8%, which sounds high from layman's state, but what we were expecting, I think, me personally, and I think I can speak for Carla, we kind of expected. Thank you to the class of 2024 and number 10 for donating the $832 to go to the track project out here. Number 12, we're talking about a food service compliance report. This is something we do every year. If anybody wants to see it, I've got it here to it. Want to jump over to number 18. I'm very proud to say that we're purchasing, if everything goes well tonight, right around $49,000 worth of new curriculum for our staff. So we're not always able to do something like this, but obviously academics are the reason we're here. So it's nice to be able to support that with a large purchase or several smaller purchases, obviously, for that. The fees for next year are going to remain the same, and we've got a breakdown of that. Have you seen all that, board members? Was that shared with you, I hope? If you have questions, I can share more with you. Let's just say that. The Dark County ESC, we have true up every year in number 22, talking about, they expect to charge us this, but their health insurance goes up as well. Those type of things. We have an aid this year, so it's actually an increase of $18,918 this year. And I probably should go back to 20 and 21. We've got a student this year, a special ed case that we're going to have to enter into a contract with a family to help transportation and some other things going in with that. But those will help us with that piece. Going down to number 25, talking about helping our families. We have an opportunity where there's a program out there right now called Community Eligibility Provision, and they call it CEP for short, that allows school districts to basically give free lunches and free meals, breakfast included, to all the students if the school qualifies. We have looked at this. It costs the school district to do this. At the same time, there's positives to our families. We are looking right now. We've got a fairly good feel on it, but with the transition of new food service coordinators right now, I kind of feel awkward about pulling a trigger. But I would like to continue the conversations. But the problem is the decision has to be made by June 30th. So we are going to interview next week for our position. I'd like to hopefully have that position offered by mid next week to somebody. We'll discuss these things. Right now, our building partially qualifies. It doesn't fully qualify. So we talked about what this looks like. Do we want to split kids up? Do we want to help some families, not the other? Is it really advantageous to the district? Is it really going to help our families? Those type of things. So we're exploring these questions. But with the June 30th, we kind of have to make a vague resolution for tonight to allow us that flexibility. So that being said, that's the gist of this part of the agenda.
Do you currently use the ASOP or the frontline absent management? You do use that?
Yes, yes.
I just saw it on there. I didn't know if you used it or not.
We
I
do,
thought they,
we do. And it, well, there's two separate pieces, the front line and ASOP is one piece. That is going to remain the same thing, and that helps us get our subs and those type of things. What we use for absent management is HR kiosk. That is being revised this summer. We're hoping whatever comes in and replaces it continues to talk to frontline and ASOP and continues that integration, and it works great. But we know that what you may be talking about the whole piece of frontline.
no, I just
Okay.
meant, I didn't know you guys used that. I thought the staff was supposed to get their own subs. Don't they get theirs?
Well, teachers use this, aides do not.
Okay.
Classified does not.
So whenever someone's sick, they just put it in ASOP, it finds them a sub, they don't have to worry about
Teachers, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So, as long as they can find one. ASOP doesn't always find one.
Yeah.
So, even ASOP.
it. But it is nice to have.
It is.
And it's nice
really
for
cool.
subs to have that app if they are interested in subbing.
Right.
Because before I taught full time, there was an app you could get, so it would get you, let you know where there's jobs available. But it is a great system. I
And
just
it-
didn't know you used it.
And it's linked into, the one we purchased, if a sub wants to enter into an agreement with all the Dark County schools, they actually check which districts they want to do and use it all through the same portal. So it's really convenient for subs.
And there a few years ago is when, we programmed it to work, interact with ASOP. So not all districts do that. So as we make this change with kiosk, we're hopeful that, I think that will be a mandatory situation because districts are using that as an integration tool.
Motion to approve the items Joe presented.
So moved.
Second.
That's okay.
Any other questions or discussions over the items to approve? Hearing none, roll call for approval, please.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
And 26.
26 was put on there, separated. It doesn't have to be, but just for good faith effort, we pulled him out. This is moving him from his current custodial position to the maintenance position that we created.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Sally, and a second.
I'll second.
Maria, discussions, questions? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Abstain.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
27.
27 is long. Lots of verbiage from the lawyers saying that we have an urgent need to hire people for this construction project, restrooms, just because of the time constraints. This allows us to bypass some of the procedural mandates from the state based on time need. So here we've got three businesses. Samuel Deal will do the concrete work. Wayne Builders will buy the brick from, and then Clearwater Plumbing, we'll come and do all plumbing. So, and this is all through the grant.
Motion to approve. Scott, and a second.
Second.
Thanks, Trey. Any discussions or any other questions for Joe? None, roll call for approval, please.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill, Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
The last three items, here we go. The last three items are construction items that were separated out. Penny's Blacktop was the lowest bid for seal coating this year, and Skip would like to do both of the entranceways, the new road in the back, one from Children's Home Bradford, sometime in late summer. We'll start getting kids here. 29, we've got a relocation of our water meter going from it's currently at the baseball complex out here. We're going to move that water meter up next to the road that goes out to Children's Home Bradford and tie in to the new concession stand. And that way we've got one water bill each month instead of two for that. So it's money well spent, my money. And then number 30 is the proposal from Sean and the athletic boosters to put up this building. They have donations for it. They've got their own funds for it. And something we didn't talk about was the concrete work around it. They're going to put a pad underneath the building and pads on three sides of it. adjacent to what we've already got. So it's the hardscaping that we've got around the building as well. So I think it's going to be a good addition. It's evolved significantly from the original conversation of a shelter house look to it. So I think it's a good design. It's just, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't what I had in mind, but I think it worked.
Motion to approve the items presented.
So move.
And second. Any other questions or discussion?
Truly do want feedback. If you guys see something, any of that, please say something now.
Setting it up to match what we have makes good sense. It's unfortunate you have to add something else with all the big building that we have. But again, keeping their items separate in security is probably much better than to have access to that huge building. So I think it makes sense in that respect.
Yeah, I know he said he was still getting bids. Is there a timeline? I mean, I think that was the biggest thing of just, this project will be done,
So,
for, yes,
Mhm.
for the fall sports season.
Right.
I think that's the
and that is
biggest
their
thing
goal
is
too.
that everything would be completed and it would,
Right, and a chance to seed and make it kind of
right.
be ready for.
So we can weave that in here, and I know their goals are to finish before the football season starts. But we can look at that too and say, you know what, if it's not going to be complete by August, whatever, then maybe we put it off until after the season or something like
I mean, with some of these contractors saying they couldn't get it on the schedule.
Tough.
You know,
It's gonna be
timing of materials still tough, so that summer progressed on. I think that would be something I would be concerned about. I think the building is great, but timing, I think we want it to be done.
Because you wouldn't want it to have, you're debuting your other structure and then we still kind of have some stuff.
that. The triple stuff.
Yeah, so I think it'd be fine, but I think that caveat's probably not a bad idea. Okay.
I'll talk to Sean. Now, if you want to weave something in the motion, you're welcome to do that as well.
I think we'll give you the authority to make it function. We trust that you will execute our desires.
I'll do my best.
Anything else you'd like to add? And a roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
Next is policy potpourri, right?
You betcha.
Anything else you would like to add or questions the group has regarding all these nuances?
If you have questions, I will answer. Yeah. Most of it's, like I said, mundane stuff.
There are no other questions or concerns. We have a motion to approve our new policies. Thanks, Maria. And I can second.
I'll say.
And roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill, Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer, Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
Next item is motion to enter executive session for item G1 listed on our agenda.
Move.
Thanks, Trey, and a second.
Second.
Holly, roll call for executive session.
Mr. Manuel, Mrs. Hill, Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yep.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
7:10.
And I did not check.
Session at 7:49. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Thanks, Trey. All for adjournment?
Give him $1,000.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yeah.
Oh,
Dr. Swab,
yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bezeker.
Yes.
Take a minute later.
Yeah.